Coming up today, speaking with one voice, the UN Security Council denounces North Korea for its recent failed missile launch, but a US expert says Pyongyang could have an operational Musudan missile by 2017. Facing the growing threat from the north, the South Korean government and the ruling party agreed to expedite the establishment of the nation's anti-missile system and kill chain strike program by the early 2020s. Plus, a new poll puts Hillary Clinton in a commanding national lead in the US presidential race, but CNN polls show the race tightening in key battleground states. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's Tuesday the 18th of October. You're tuned in to our noon newscast here on Arirang TV. It's very good to have you with us today. I'm Mark Broom. Our top story this afternoon, the UN Security Council has come down hard on North Korea, unanimously condemning the regime for its recent attempt to test fire a ballistic missile. This comes as the Council is currently in the process of drawing up even stronger sanctions on Pyongyang for its September 9th nuclear test. Gwon-soa starts us off.
Calling it a grave violation of international obligations under numerous UN Security Council resolutions, the 15 members of the Council strongly condemned North Korea's failed medium-range Musudan missile launch that it conducted Saturday. After holding an emergency meeting in New York Monday local time, Russia's ambassador to the UN, who is the president of the Council for this month, released a press statement that said the members of the Council deplore all of Pyongyang's ballistic missile activities and that such contribute to the regime's nuclear weapons delivery systems development and raise tension. The statement further stressed that the Council regrets that the regime is behaving this way while the North Korean people's needs are unmet. The members of the Council also asked for all UN member states to redouble their efforts in the implementation of existing sanctions on North Korea. The UN Security Council is currently discussing even heavier measures on North Korea ever since its fifth nuclear test conducted last month. In Washington, the U.S. denounced North Korea's latest provocation with similar words, saying the test violates UN Security Council resolutions which explicitly forbid such launches. White House spokesperson Josh Earnest also pointed out that threats like these are the reason why the U.S. and South Korea have been cooperating in talks regarding the deployment of the U.S. missile defense system THAAD in South Korea. Gwon-soa, Arirang News.
Now, following Pyongyang's failed missile launch last Saturday, the South Korean government and the ruling party have together agreed to bolster the country's missile defense readiness to move more effectively to counter North Korea's threats. Park Ji-won has more.
The South Korean government and the ruling Saemaul party have decided to expedite the establishment of the nation's anti-missile defense and kill chain strike program by the early 2020s, advancing from the current time plan of completing the system by the mid-2020s. The decision was reached at the National Assembly on Tuesday morning. The talks were attended by Defense Minister Han Min-gu and other defense officials on the government side, and Floor Leader Chung Jin-seok and Chief Policymaker Kim Kwang-nim on the ruling party side. The meeting was convened at short notice following North Korea's failed ballistic missile launch last weekend. The ruling Saemaul party also strongly called on the government to acquire nuclear-powered submarines to effectively counter Pyongyang's submarine-launched ballistic missiles and to bolster South Korea's defense readiness by complementing asymmetric warfare capabilities. The Defense Ministry of Fischer said they would cautiously examine the ruling party's request. The government and the ruling Conservative Party also agreed to secure extra funds next year to counter threats posed by North Korea's newly developed multiple launch rocket systems and the regime's ever-increasing cyber warfare threats. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
Now, despite North Korea's failure to launch an intermediate-range ballistic missile, a U.S. expert says the regime's aggressive testing schedule could see the Musudan missile, enter operational service next year. Lee Ji-won has more.
There's some signs of continued activity at North Korea's Dongchangli launching station, the site of Saturday's failed missile launch, suggesting maintenance work. However, that doesn't mean the North's testing schedule is slowing down. U.S.-based North Korea monitoring website 38 North said in a report Monday that satellite images taken earlier this month show that a shelter used to conduct final preparations on a rocket engine before it's loaded by a crane onto the test stand is instead adjacent to the stand. When not in use, the shelter would normally be positioned further back on the concrete pad. Because there are no cranes visible, the North could be conducting maintenance work or preparing for a new engine test. However, 38 North says it's unlikely that North Korea is planning a space launch in the near future. There are also two new instrumentation structures on either side of the engine test stand, which 38 North says appear to be for cameras to record engine tests. Additional activities around the launch site include the arrival of 3 small pieces of equipment or shipping crates within the last 10 days. The site notes their purpose is unclear, but suggests a focus on maintenance and infrastructure improvements. Even so, improvements such as these could represent preparations for future activity. Aerospace engineer John Schilling said in another report posted Monday, the regime's aggressive testing schedule, which appears to include only one successful launch of its Musudan missile among 7 attempts this year, could see the missile enter operation service by next year. He said the regime's failed Musudan launch over the weekend is noteworthy, as it could be a sign the North is testing to see if they have really mastered something new. He said this shows that North Korea is not simply repeating old failures, but tweaking variables every time. Saturday's missile launch took place from the west coast, while all the rest were launched near its city of Wonsan on the southeastern coast. 이지원, Arirang News.
President Park Geunhye attended the opening of the Global Saemaul Leadership Forum in Pyeongchang this morning. She said that the Saemaul Undong was a revolutionary movement that laid the groundwork for Korea's present success, and she vowed to provide customized support for countries seeking to eliminate poverty and pave the way for sustainable growth.
앞으로 지구촌 새마을 운동이 더욱 발전해 나가기 위해서는 각국의 특수성과 시대 상황에 맞춰 종합적이고 지속 가능한 방향으로 계속 변화해 나가야 합니다. 앞으로 한국은 여러분들이 각국의 현실에 맞는 새마을 운동을 추진할 수 있도록 필요한 부분을 적극 지원할 것입니다.
President Park pledged to invite more participants to join the initiative and vowed to provide a standardized curriculum and textbooks to enhance their capabilities. She also promised to implement follow-up programs in each country so the initiative can take root. Over 7,400 Semel leaders from 99 countries have been trained in Korea so far, with around 700 attending this year's gathering in Pyeongchang, the host city for the 2018 Winter Olympic Games. A group of Japanese lawmakers has paid a visit to the controversial Yasukuni Shrine for its autumn festival. According to Japan's Kyodo news agency, the visit took place on Monday. It comes a day after Prime Minister Shinzo Abe sent a ritual offering to the shrine, which honors Japan's war dead, including 14 Class A war criminals. Abe has only visited the shrine once since taking office to avoid inflaming tensions with China and Korea, both of which regarded as a symbol of Japan's past militarism. More Japanese lawmakers are reportedly slated to visit during the annual event, which runs through Thursday. Now, with around 3 weeks to go until the US presidential election, a new poll held over the weekend shows Hillary Clinton has a healthy 12-point lead over her Republican rival, Donald Trump. However, it's not plain sailing for Clinton, as it's still extremely close in some battleground states, and her email problems may be about to come roaring back. Kim Mo-gyun has more.
Once again,
the survey released by Monmouth University on Monday puts Clinton ahead of Trump at 50% to 38% in a four-way race. The poll was the first to be conducted entirely since Trump's sexual assault accusations emerged. Slightly under two-thirds of the voters polled said they believed the allegations were credible, while 58% said they were not surprised by what they heard Trump say on the 2005 hot mic recording. Regarding Clinton's email leaks, a quarter of respondents said the WikiLeaks releases made them think less of the Democratic nominee.
45% said the transcripts had no impact on their impression of Clinton. The poll was conducted from October 14th to the 16th on 805 registered voters with a margin of error of plus or minus 3.5%. Other polls held by CNN on 3 critical battleground states, Nevada, North Carolina, and Ohio, showed that Trump had an edge over Clinton, 48% to 44% in Ohio, while Clinton had razor-thin leads in North Carolina and Nevada. The latest polls come amid reports the State Department asked the FBI to declassify Clinton's emails in a quid pro quo exchange for allowing FBI agents to get more foreign postings. The FBI and State Department have both denied the reports. The disclosures were immediately seized upon by Trump, who described the FBI documents as unbelievable and corruption at the highest level. Kim Mo-kyun, Arirang News.
The president of the Philippines says he's willing to participate in military exercises with Russia and China, but not with the United States. In a televised interview Monday with Hong Kong-based Phoenix Television, Rodrigo Duterte said he wants to end military ties with Washington, the country's main defense ally. Saying that it's only China that can help us, Duterte also confirmed his willingness to purchase military hardware from the country. Duterte is scheduled to be in Beijing on Tuesday for a 4-day visit aimed at improving relations with China amid their ongoing territorial dispute in the South China Sea. Duterte has praised China and Russia, but has put distance between his country and the US over his war on drugs that's claimed over 3,700 lives. Iraqi forces are roughly 24 hours into their US-backed offensive to drive the so-called Islamic State from the northern city of Mosul. Iraq's Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi made a televised statement on Monday announcing the start of the mission. The ISIS-linked Amaq news agency said its fighters had launched 10 suicide attacks on advancing forces near Mosul, and that Peshmerga forces had encircled 5 villages but failed to take them. According to journalists and NGOs in the area, thousands of people are trapped inside the city as ISIS militants have threatened to shoot any civilians trying to get out. The commander of the coalition, US Lieutenant General Stephen Townsend, said the operation would likely continue for weeks or possibly even longer. If Mosul is retaken, Raqqa in Syria will be the Islamic State's last remaining stronghold. Russia has announced a humanitarian pause in its bombing of the Syrian city of Aleppo. Moscow's defense ministry said it would pause airstrikes on Thursday for an 8-hour span between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. local time. Russia says the pause will give civilians and rebels time to leave and allow humanitarian aid to enter the city. UN agencies welcomed the announcement but said the window should be at least 12 hours as they'll need more time to deliver aid to the besieged eastern part of Aleppo. Russia's announcement came on the day an airstrike reportedly killed at least 14 people from the same family. Since Russia backed the Aleppo assault after the collapse of a truce brokered by Russia and the US, around 450 civilians have been killed, including scores of children. The Vice Chairman of the US Federal Reserve says the Fed is very close to its employment and inflation targets deemed the markers for raising rates. Speaking at the Economic Club of New York on Monday, Stanley Fischer also suggested that low rates can lead to longer and deeper recessions, making the economy more vulnerable. Pressure for a rate hike in December is building, with the US Core Personal Consumption Expenditure Index, which is the Fed's primary inflation guide, hitting 1.7% in August, and the unemployment rate in September recording 5%, which is considered full employment in the United States. But Fischer added that it's not a simple decision for the Fed to raise rates, as there are factors beyond its control, like slower overseas growth, weak investment, and an aging population. Now, in a bid to curb worrying increase in household debt levels here in Korea, the nation's financial regulator is studying plans to tighten regulations on savings banks that are extending credit loans at a rapid pace. The Financial Supervisory Service says it will tighten lending criteria and qualifications to stem the rate of increase and hedge against weakening financial soundness. Since last year, savings banks, which lend at much higher interest rates than commercial banks have been sharply increasing the volume of their loans compared to 2014, where the overall loans of savings banks stood at $23.8 billion in the second quarter. The figure rose to around $37 billion as of the end of June this year. Now, the findings add to mounting concerns over the exploding levels of household debt here in Korea. A recent survey conducted by the Bank for International Settlements shows Korea's household debt to GDP ratio ranked 8th among 42 countries surveyed. Well, that's where we're going to leave it on this Tuesday afternoon here in Seoul. For more of the latest, don't forget to either check out the website arirang.com/news or our smartphone application, which you can find by searching for Arirang TV in the usual places. Have a great day. Goodbye.